today. Let's begin with round 52. The title of today's lesson is the explanation of the several words like the Goddess Gaia, Sanshinje. Sanshinje means the spiritual service for the mountain god, Sanshinje, Kwan Yin, and Fractal. Well, the god of the earth is the Goddess Gaia, and the god of the universe is the creation god of the universe, as you know well. The spiritual service for a newly built building, the spiritual service for a mountain, it is called Sanshinje in Korean, Sanshinje. The spiritual service for the god of the sea, it is Yongwangje in Korean, god of the sea, Yongwangje, are not any superstition. About 12,000 years ago, there was the nuclear war between the Atlantis and Lemurian continents, and the two continents became sunk into the deep sea. Telos is the city which is in a cave of the inner world of the earth, and Kwan Yin was enlightened before 112,000 years ago, and her hometown is the inner world of the earth, and presently she stays in the fifth dimensional paradise. The fractal is the diagram which shows the division of the dimension, and it can be called the diagram which resembles its own shape. As a matter of fact, the god of the earth is called the goddess of Gaia. Why is it that this god is not a man but a woman? The reason is that this goddess brings up or feeds all the living creatures of the earth and confer natural resources on them abundantly and with pleasure. Furthermore, the god of the universe, who is thought to exist in all the things of the universe, and usually it is called 비로자나불, 법신불, or logos, 우주 절대정신, that is the absolute mind of the universe, 상제님, the king of the universe, etc. Therefore, the Korean traditional and ritual ceremonies like Sanshinje, Sanshinje means the ritual ceremony for the god of a mountain, in which they put a boiled head of a pig on an altar, or Yongwangje. Yongwangje means the ritual ceremony for the god of the sea, are not any superstitious but reasonful activities. In addition to this, the ritual ceremony of our ancestors long time ago, like the ritual ceremony for the sun, the moon, or a big rock, is not any superstitious activity as the general modern people think, but it was the ceremony for the Deva, or the natural spirit or natural god that exists in reality. Next, Lemuria. The legendary story which has been inherited to us from the far ancient times to the modern era is the story of the Lemuria and Atlantis continent, as well as the story of the inside world of the earth. It is said that a long time ago, about 4.5 million years ago, when the ancestors of the people of the earth began to walk on the field of the African continent, a group of the people living in the Mu continent of the Dar universe, which is different from the universe where we live in today, came to the earth by UFO and began to reside there. Well, I think that the Dar universe here means a star which is in our galaxy, and the Mu continent is in the continent of a planet which moves around the star. Those alien people were giants who were 12 feet tall, 3.6 meters tall, very, very high. This Lemurian continent had a gigantic area which had the border with the present Fiji, New Zealand, Australia, the island of Madagascar of Africa, Hawaii to the north, and the area facing California of America today, and the number of the people then was nearly 300 million. The civilization of Lemuria was a high-level UFO one, and they even buried lots of crystal sticks in the soil in order to regulate the grid of the earth. Here, this grid is a sort of latitude and longitude lines over the earth, through which some of the energy flew. I mentioned it in the other place of this lecture. Well, by the way, at the end of their long history of 4.5 million years, it became a great problem for their consciousness level to get lower and lower. At the beginning of their civilization, their level of their consciousness was in the fifth dimension. But as time went on, it became fourth dimensional, and at last it went into the area of third and low dimension, just like the consciousness of the earth before December 21st, 2012. In addition to this problem, the consciousness of the regions of the Atlantic continent, which was situated in the Atlantic Ocean, became low too. And the Lemurians and the Atlantic people had their different opinion concerning how to deal with the native people of the earth. At last, their opinions collided against each other, and there occurred a thermonuclear war between them. The war broke out around 25,000 years ago, and the result was catastrophic, of course. The survivors then knew that the Lemurian continent would sink deep into the sea after 50,000 years. The life expectancy of that time was around 20,000 or 30,000 years as they lived in the fifth dimension. And when they perceived that the continent would sink deep into the sea while they lived, they asked the high-ranking leaders of the Shambhala, the capital city of the inside world, that they would build the residential place inside the earth. At last, they certified that the peace was important, and after they attained the painful lesson from the war against Atlantis in the past, they built their city inside a great cave on the Mount Shasta, 1,600 meters deep from the surface of the earth. Soon, the continent sank into the sea during the time of night, and as the continent sank too abruptly, only 25,000 people could take refuge in the cave. Originally, the refuge members planned to be 200,000 ones. Today, the Lemurians have built another 3 cities more, and the Atlantic people are said to live in two cities. The people in these cities have entered the civilization of the fifth dimension, and they live forever without death. It can be these cities that most of the people of the earth imagine to be the heaven or the paradise. By the way, the Atlantic continent began to sink into the sea as a result of the demolition of the Lemurian continent, and it took nearly 200 years for this continent to sink entirely. Next, the holy saint of Kwan Yin. Kwan Yin is Kwan in Korean. This Buddhist saint is well known to us as a compassionate and benevolent person. I think that in the past, the people who carried the coffin and traditional gorgeous funeral pyre, 상여 in Korean, pyre, said, 관세음보살. This person is known to be the saint who saves the people of the earth. It is said that the scholars who study Buddhism tend to think of Bosal or Buddhist saint to be a person who stands just at the threshold of the genuine enlightenment. But this 관세음보살 as well as 미륵보살, Saint Maitreya, 미륵보살, 미륵부처, are all alive now, and they belong to the great white brotherhood or the spiritual hierarchy of the earth. It is said that 관세음보살 first got enlightened about 112,000 years ago, and he was born in Shangri-La for the first time in the earth. This Shangri-La means the world inside the earth as we know well. 관세음보살 of the inside of the earth has existed to be bisexual existence. That is, this saint has both man and woman character. Even now, it is said that 관음도, a portrait of 관세음보살, looks like a person with both man and woman character. Next, fractal. This word means the dimension divisional diagram, and the French mathematician Mandelbrot began to use this word for the first time. It is the concept that a certain sort of material contains the whole shaped form, even though it is split into a lot of steps of small particles. Therefore, it is the meaning of the self-mimicking diagram, and in this case, the particle is the shrunk and small shape of the whole shape. Therefore, the characteristic of the fractal is self-similarity and recursion. For example, as a cell which consists of man's body has all the ingredients of the whole body, a cell can duplicate the whole shape of the man. And similarly, a human being who is called the small universe has the characteristic of the universe itself. And so, a person has the character or ingredients of the whole universe. Look at the following picture. This is an image of 관세음보살. It is in the book 2012년 지구차원 대전원과 천상 메시지들, page 420. This book, 2012, The Great Change of the Earth Dimension and the Messages from the Earth. This book. And then the next picture, this is a fractal diagram. When you see it carefully, just the same shaped whorl diagram appears again and again around the first spiral diagram. Written by Virginia Heacen, 예수 그리스도의 메시지, The Teachings for an Awakening Humanity, page 85. This book. And the next item is Zeta aliens, Planet X and Nibiru. Let's listen to an explanation concerning the Zeta aliens and other information, where the next contents are in the book 예수 그리스도 메시지 2, this book, The Teachings for an Awakening Humanity 2, page 249 to 254. Jesus Christ says that Zeta aliens are dwarf ETs, and they are notorious for having done a lot of bad activities. They have other name Gray. The planet X is the one which they made only in the imagination, and so this planet X does not exist in the galaxy. The planet Nibiru is the planet where the aliens who ruled the people in the Middle East area in the past lived. This explanation is in the book New Teachings for an Awakening Humanity, this book, from page 249 to 254. I abbreviated the contents of these pages. The Zeta aliens told that the pole shift would be near at hand, and they've said that the planet X will come into the solar system, which will cause a great turmoil. And Jesus Christ says that this fact is the entirely wrong information and they have manipulated it intentionally. However, the planet called Nibiru exists in reality, and this planet moves making an oval orbit between the solar system and the Sirius star. It is said that the planet comes to the solar system and moves around the Earth once per 3,600 years. The planet came to the Earth around 2,000 years ago or lastly, when I, Mr. Sananda, I came to the Earth first. At that time, the agents of the Nibiru planet began to make a plan to occupy the Earth again. Therefore, the Archangel Michael and I came to the Earth for the purpose of nullifying the plan. We were successful at first, and so they had to change the plan. At last, they have come to the space not far from the Earth with a new plot or intrigue for occupying the Earth, which fact have drawn me to the Earth again now. As their planet was destroyed due to a war, they wanted to own the Earth. As they wanted to make use of the change of the times, they made a conspiracy. I think that as it is the time of the polar shift of the Earth, they want to utilize this situation in order to own the Earth. It seems that they manipulated the planet X in order to give the people of the Earth a sort of fear. The Zeta people are the human beings which were made in the experiment room. That is, they are the android or artificial existence, and their DNAs were changed by their creators. They were quite trigger happy, and as a matter of fact, they were made so originally. When a war broke out on their planet, the surface of it was destroyed, and in order to discard the genetic influence which they did not want to have, their DNAs were changed by their creators. They long know the existence of the planet X, and probably they changed the Nibiru planet into the planet X intentionally. The Nibiru planet was researched in detail and widely by Dr. Zechariah Sitchin, and the legends of this planet have some relationship with the reptilians and the revolt of Lucifer. Here, the reptilians are the aliens whose faces and skin look like those of the reptiles. Presently, this planet is not near the Earth enough to have any influence. The legends are under the control of the united power of the galaxy. This phrase, under the control, means that the legends in Nibiru were defeated in the war with the United Galaxy Federation military power, which is in the right and good part, not in the wicked part. It is said that those Nibiru aliens decided to take part in the activity of the Galaxy Federation rather than revolt to it. This is the same phenomenon as the Grey aliens case. Jesus Christ says that presently the space war which occurred during the span of several million years has come to an end, and there will be no further war in our galaxy in the future. Therefore, it is not necessary to worry about the planet Nibiru. There will be no great catastrophe on the Earth in the future, and any disaster has been prevented by the Archangel Michael's order, and some appropriate measures have been adopted. Of course, there will be some change on the Earth, but it will happen gradually and in the controlled state. This is a carved picture called Akkad Seal of Sumer, in which we can see the shape of the planet moving around the sun. in the upside part of the left-hand direction, the people of Sumer knew correctly that our solar system had 9 planets, and they knew another unknown planet existed, and they called it Nibiru. It is on page 225 of this book.